This podcast is brought to you by Bernie's Tap and Grill. It's family owned and operated since 1954. Located across from Wrigley Field on Clark and Waveland. My dad hit a few home runs on the Waveland Avenue, and Bernie's was my dad's favorite place to go. It's got delicious food, 4 full-service bars, an awesome beer garden, a sidewalk patio cafe, and a cool upstairs area. It's the place I've always met my friends at before and after games. Go on by and tell Linda Dillman Jeff Santos sent you. Bernie's Tap and Grill, where you go when you go to Wrigley.
Sit back and relax. It's time for peanuts, popcorn, and Cracker Jacks.
Hey, how's it going? I'm your host, Jeff Santo. I'm here with my wife, Christy.
Hello, hello.
We have a very cool show today. My special guest is a big baseball name. If you watch baseball, listen to baseball, you've heard this name. And even outside baseball, you've heard it because it's done so much for baseball. Mm-hmm. And can't wait for you to hear our conversation. We go over a lot, very historic stuff that we talk about, man. And my crackerjack call is Joey Amalfitano. Mm-hmm. And Joey was also in the Clubhouse tapes.
Right,
I featured
Clubhouse tapes is our exclusive content, which you can click subscribe and get access to that, or you can go to a Patreon.
Yeah, and Joey in the Clubhouse tapes, we talk about 69, DeRocher, my dad, all of it. Joe played for the Cubs, and he also became a coach and knew DeRocher well and Lasorda. Joey was a big guy in baseball too, man. And the reason he's my crackerjack on this episode is because him and my special guest became good friends too in Chicago. And it's just a unique story that would never happen today. And Joey's was a great friend of my dad's, man. So can't wait for you to hear this episode.
And we have letters, so let me get to that. We have one from our new crackerjack, Anne-Marie Piscule. She says, I'm now a crackerjack. So happy to be able to support you. Biggest Ron Santo fan ever. I would love to hear interviews with other members from the 69 Cubs, and even from later years who formed a relationship with your dad when he was a broadcaster. So thank you, Anne-Marie.
Anne-Marie, thank you. Welcome to the team of crackerjacks. Cool crackerjacks.
You're so cool.
You are so cool.
And we have another letter from Horace Porter. He says, Jeff, I saw your link to your podcast on Facebook and saw you were talking with Don Kessinger. Let me introduce myself. I was drafted by the Cubs after college graduation in 1969. Horace Griggy Porter. He's got a nickname, Griggy.
Griggy.
I didn't meet your dad, but I saw him in spring training. I played 6 years from the Cubs organization, and your dad, Kessinger, and Becker never would let me play in the big leagues. I tell people it kept a Hall of Famer to keep me out of the big leagues.
Griggy, the 69 Cubs infield kept you out of the big leagues. Sorry, timing was off. I guess that's life, right?
That team was good.
Becker, Kessinger, Sano, and Banks.
Timing.
Yeah.
All right, so he says, looking at your episodes, I saw you did some with Pete Lecoq. Pete and I were teammates a couple of years. I still remember Pete's blue Porsche. Pete was a great player and teammate.
Oh, yeah, and Pete was a stud. Mm-hmm. Blue Porsche, can you see Pete?
Oh, I could totally see Pete in a blue Porsche, yeah. I'm just imagining
kid from California going to Chicago, leaves his surfboard behind. Pete was like a movie star out there. There's no doubt. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, the blue Porsche.
And he says, Jeff, again, I'm certainly glad I saw the ad on Facebook and we'll look forward to future podcasts.
Griggy, thank you so much, man. Thank you for the support. Sorry you didn't get to the bigs. You did have some top competition to get through, so don't take it so hard.
And thank you for listening.
Enjoy this episode. It's a good one.
Enjoy.
Hey, everybody. I was in Encino, California the other day at a meeting, and I get out of there, and I'm hungry as can be, man. And there's traffic, LA traffic. And I'm thinking, I got to get some side streets here like my dad did in Wrigley. And I wind up at Coldwater Canyon and Riverside Drive, and there's Gino's East Pizza. Boom, park the car, go inside, and I order a tavern pizza, cheese and sausage, my favorite, top 3 foods of all time. And there's the owner, Dan and Todd, and they're like, hey, man, you're on the TV. I'm like, yeah, right, guys. They love to razz me once in a while. And sure enough, I was. My dad's documentary from MLB was playing. But I had no time for that. I had to eat my pizza. I devoured that thing in a minute. I was so hungry. You got to go to Gino's East for the greatest pizza around. Gino's East, LA. Put it in your Google's map right now. It's going to be our place to go, me and Christy, on Friday's happy hour. Go to Gino's East, right near Coldwater Canyon and the 101. Put it in your Google's map now. We'll see you there. My special guest today won 288 Major League Baseball games. He came up to the big leagues at 20 years of age and played until he was 46 years old. He had two outstanding careers, one before his historical elbow surgery and one after. 1 in 7 pitchers today keep their baseball careers going because of this pitcher's courage and success. He's probably one of the smartest pitchers to ever take the mound, and he has yet to be inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame. His name is synonymous with the pitcher's miracle. Tommy John, it's so very cool to have you on my show, man.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Hey, my first question, Tommy, what do you think it is that has been keeping you out of baseball's Hall of Fame?
My look. If I was a little more handsome and all that, I think I would have been in. But no, I don't know. I know when I got to the 288 wins, when I was on the ballot, the original ballot with the sports writers, it was like, well, that's no big deal. 288 wins is no big deal. Come on.
Right.
And now as we get into what's going on, I think they'll find more and more guys. 288 will be more than they'll ever get close to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you're going through a lot like what my father went through, Tommy. My dad didn't even get right when he was on the ballot. He didn't even get 4% of the vote and got knocked off the ballot. They reinstated a few years later. So he lost years through that, and then obviously didn't get in until the Veterans Committee in his era voted. So I know what you're going through. Seeing that happen to my father.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like it's really all political, right?
You got that right. I should have had Joe Biden as my as the guy helping me out.
Right. Yeah. It's the thing is, do you think the writers held your own remarkable surgery against you?
I think a lot of them did because it's just what I did, like you said, before and after the surgery was very remarkable. And I just think that it was held against me.
And you were very consistent. I mean, you played for so many years. What made you last so long? What was it about your pitching style that kept you in the big leagues all those years?
Well, I had a very strong and resilient arm, and I could throw strikes.
Right.
And I think that's the big thing. You throw strikes. I only had 2 pitches. I came up to the big leagues throwing a fastball and curveball, and I left the big leagues at age 46 throwing a fastball and a curveball. I was learning a changeup in my last years, but I never got around to using it.
Wow, man. I also feel like, my dad, when he crossed the white lines, would always say, "No one's my friend." Once I crossed the white lines, and maybe that was held against him with players from other teams who got to the Hall or writers from other cities. And it seemed like you kind of had that too. You spoke your mind, you said what you believed, and you went out there and you performed.
Well, I had a friend of mine that was on the Veterans Committee told me that there was a player talking against me every time they came up to a vote. He would talk against Tommy John, which didn't help at all.
Yeah, why do you think players do that at this age? You think, they let the inner conflict go, all the resentment or whatever. This is a competition, You're not out there to make friends with other teams. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think it mentality. They can't think as far as they can sit.
Yeah, like an exclusive club. You know, it was sad
Yeah.
because you know, it was nice to see my dad go into the hall, but it was sad that he wasn't there to give his speech.
When he was
you know?
alive, that he could enjoy it. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
You know, it's funny. I'm going to tell you a quick story here.
Sure.
When I was with the White Sox, you know, I was a baby, and I needed a place to stay. Well, the first year I was at the big league club, I stayed at a downtown hotel, and I think I was paying $5 or $10 a night for the room. And then I hooked up with the guy with the Cubs. His name was Joe Amalfitano.
Oh yeah.
And Joey and I had an apartment out by O'Hare. We had a 2-bedroom apartment. We split everything in half. And when I had a day off, you know, I'd go hit golf balls early in the morning, and then I'd go out with Joey to a Cubs game. And I hung out with more Cubs players than I did with White Sox players.
Wow. You know, that Joey Malfitano was a good friend of my dad's. Great guy.
Yep.
I actually interviewed him on
Yep.
the show. Just such a great guy. You know, did you like playing on the South Side?
I like playing baseball.
Yeah.
I could have been on the South Side, the North Side, the East Side, the West Side, Minnesota. I enjoyed playing baseball, and I liked the competition, and I thought it was great. I just thought it was so much fun going out and trying to do better than you did your last time.
Right. You know, I read that you were the valedictorian in your high school. Is that true?
Well, there was only two. It's my dad and me. You know, my dad wasn't very. But, yeah, we had 230 kids in our class. And my mom and dad, to get me into high school, we lived outside the city of Terre Haute. And they had to pay for me to go to high school.
Wow.
And I brought home my report card my first time in high school, and it was all A's. And my mom said, "This is really good. You know, we expect the best out of you." I said, "You know, Mom, you got it." So my freshman sophomore year, I never made a B. They were all A's. So at the start of my junior year, we get the report card, and I'm going through the high school gymnasium, and the dean of boys says, "Hey, Junior, come over here." So I go over, and he said, "Let's see your card." I showed him my card. It had one B on it, and that was in English, junior English. And he says, "Whoa," he said, "that's your first B, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's pretty good. You know," he said, "you keep it up like that, you got a chance to be valedictorian." And I looked at him and I said, "What's going to stop me?" He said, "Well, there are 5 girls in front of you that I don't think you can pass." That's all he needed to say, because now he turned on my switch. Okay, 5 girls are going to beat me? I don't think so. And then I got my butt and I studied, and I brought the B up to an A, and I kept it going. And he and my dad went to high school together. So he knew me as an athlete, and he knew that all I had to do was just, you tell me what to do and I would bust my hump to do it. And that's what I did. And
Wow.
I turned out to be valedictorian of my high school class.
Wow. You know, how much did that help you on the mound, knowing you were smarter than any hitter coming to the plate?
Well, I don't think I was smarter than the hitters. I just think I knew Tommy John better than the hitters knew me. And I knew what I could do, and I knew what I couldn't do. and I never let what I couldn't do beat me.
Wow, that's a great philosophy. Knowing what you couldn't do. I mean, people
what
don't
I
look at
can
that
and
enough.
can't do, and
Yeah.
you go ahead and pitch. But then when you get into the part of the game where you've got to make pitches and you got to get guys out, don't try to throw a pitch that you're incapable of throwing for a good strike.
Right.
You
Wow.
know, and had I pitched in Wrigley Field, which was, you know, a relatively smallish ballpark, I would have thrown the same thing. Sinker low and away, sinker low and away, sinker low and away. Fastball inside corner to get them back off the plate. Sinker low and away, sinker low and away, because I knew I could throw my sinker low and away more times than I could throw the other pitches for strikes.
Wow. Now, you got to the big leagues at 20. What got
Right.
you there so quick? Was that your sinker? They said your curveball was phenomenal too. I mean, obviously, is that the pitch you're talking about?
Well, I had a good curveball. I had a very, very good curveball. Like I said, I threw the pitches that were working for me that night, and I only had two, so it was either going to be a sinker low and away or a curveball, and that's the way I pitched. And that, you know, my dad was not a genius, but he was smarter than most people, and he said, know what you can do and know what you can't do, and stay away from what you can't do.
Yep. And was your dad a ball player, Tommy?
He played amateur ball in and around Terre Haute, and then they had this league that you know, it was older men would play, and my dad played in it up until my sister was born, and she was born 6 years before me, and my mom made him quit because they couldn't afford to have him get hurt and not be able to work and make a living for the family. So when my sister was born, my dad quit playing baseball.
Ah, okay. Wow. And you also played, I heard you were a good basketball player. Like, could you, like, really good? I mean, you lived in Indiana. Of course you're going to play basketball, right?
Well, there were two guys over in Indianapolis. Their names were Tom and Dick Van Arsdale. And both of them played in the NBA.
Yes.
And then there was a guy up at a high school north of Terre Haute named LaPorte. His name was Ron Reed. And Ron Reed turned out to be, he was a good basketball player, but he was a pitcher for the Atlanta Braves. And I was as good as those guys. I don't want to say I was better, but I could hold my own. I had one scholarship offer in baseball, and that was to the University of Illinois.
Wow.
And I had 50 scholarship offers in basketball.
Holy cow. Holy cow. And what made you choose baseball? You liked it better?
6'3" white guys that can't jump aren't going to play basketball very long.
So you could shoot and pass. So you could shoot then, right?
I could shoot and I could rebound, because to me rebounding was like pitching. It was being at the right place at the right time, and you go for it. And you know, and I love basketball, but like you said, when you come from Indiana, if you didn't play basketball, you were a communist.
Right, exactly. Well, you know, so many guys, you know, that I have on the show, in your era, my dad's era, you guys played all sports. You were such great athletes, you know, and that doesn't happen today anymore, you know. And that's why you look back at that era and you see you got how many innings you pitched and how many complete games.
Yeah.
I mean, it's phenomenal, and how many games you didn't miss. You know, my dad rarely missed a game. You know, such a different game today. What's your thoughts on all that?
Well, it's our lifestyle. it's mommy and daddy. Oh, I got a little belly. Oh, you got, instead of when we played, you got gas. Go over to the thing and fart it out. Now you got, I got a little belly pain. Oh, we got to get you to the hospital. We got to get there. It's just mom and dad make the kids a little softer, I think.
And the money's different, so it's kind of everything.
Oh my God! Now
charged up on that. Yeah.
Oh, holy moly! Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I had here's a good basketball story for you. In my senior year, I was being recruited by a lot of colleges, and one of the big ones was Kentucky, and they were going after Tom and Dick Van Arsdale, and Tom and Dick signed to go to Indiana, and Adolph Rupp and his assistant coach were on the road trying to get the Van Arsdales to go with them to Kentucky. Well, when Tom and Dick signed to go to Indiana, they came over to Terre Haute to come after me.
Wow.
And Adolph Rupp, my dad said, I don't know. I know Tommy. I think Tommy could play basketball. He could do this. He could do that. He can do, but a lot of teams are looking at him for baseball, and he might not be able to play college basketball because of the baseball. Well, Rupp says, we've got one of the best baseball coaches, and your son might not even be able to make our team. Well, what kind of a coach are you if you're trying to get a kid to sign,
right,
and you tell his father that he might not be able to make their baseball team? Right. I mean, if I'm out there, I was, oh man, he'll be one of our number one starters, and whatever. So my dad sat down. He said, Coach Rupp, I've never liked you ever since Howard Jardine went down there and you kicked him in the ass, physically put a shoe in his butt because he wasn't doing something that Rupp wanted. Well, back in the day, you could do that in college, and the kids would just go on.
Right.
And he said, Coach, you see that door? Don't let it hit you on the ass on the way out. And Rupp, you don't talk to Adolph Rupp like that. My dad did. He got up, marched out, and the assistant coach came back in, and he said, Mr. John, Coach has been under a lot of stress, and I don't think he meant what he said. And just, don't take it for real. Just keep an open mind, okay? My dad said, okay, thank you. But that was my end of going to Kentucky when he threw Adolph out of the house.
Wow. That's how it goes, but that's so great. Like your dad sticking up for you and himself too. And you don't see that, people don't do that back then. And even like my dad's career, he found out he had diabetes right after he signed with the Cubs because his mom had him go to the family doctor. And he didn't let that stop him. Doctor's like, I don't know if you can play. It's like, well, I don't have it yet, so I'm going. It's like the nose didn't matter. The nose didn't matter for guys like you and my dad and guys in that era.
Where did your dad grow up? What part of the country?
Seattle, Washington, inner city boy.
Oh, Seattle. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So his dad left him when he was young, and so he had a great mom and sister. And baseball was everything. He grew up right next to a minor league baseball stadium. The Rainiers were there, so it's a stadium. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but you guys though, that's the thing. Like just sticking up. Doesn't matter who it is. This famous man coming to tell you something. It didn't matter. You guys, it's like you knew your past.
Right. Yeah.
Which is great. That's the old school way, man. And your path was fascinating. Now, when you went and got traded to the Dodgers, did you want to be traded, or did that surprise you when the White Sox traded you?
I had no idea they were looking to trade me. And I got traded during the winter meeting. They were in like January, I think, then.
Mm-hmm.
And the White Sox were looking for a hitter, and the Dodgers had a guy named Dick Allen.
Yeah.
And how he became free is Dick would sit up in the stands and be drinking martinis while batting practice was going on. And Peter O'Malley came out one time and he said, "What are you doing? You got to get down there and hit." And he said, "I don't have to hit. Those guys need to hit. When the game starts, I'll hit." And then he quaffed a martini. Well, that Peter O'Malley, that was it for him. And he had a chance to trade him, and they traded him to the White Sox, and the White Sox put me in the package along with an infielder named Steve Hunt, and we went to the Dodgers.
Wow. You know, Dick Allen, that's a great story, because when my dad went to the White Sox that one year, he was the first one to use the 5-10 rule, where he's like, "Oh, you want to trade me? Send me the White Sox. I'll go there." And Dick Allen, I remember at spring training as a kid, I'm like, "Where's Dick Allen? I want to see Dick." And he didn't show up till like the last day of spring training. And then I would remember my brother and I would be in the clubhouse before the game, and he would show up like 10 minutes before the game started. And that, so I understand that. And but you're right, though. He could hit, though, right? Because my dad also told a story where he dropped the ball, made an error at first base, and Wilbur Wood, he gave up a run, and he told Wilbur Wood, kind of came into the dugout. My dad heard me, said, "I'm sorry, Wilbur, I'll make it up to you on this next at bat." My dad said he hit like a 450 foot home run. But when he didn't want to play, he didn't want to play. So boy,
he shut it down.
Yeah. Now going to the Dodgers, I mean, that was like, wow. You really like went to another level. It seemed like, as far as, because you're in LA, obviously people are going to recognize you more than being on the south side of Chicago. You think that was the part of the reason too?
Well, going to the Dodgers was good. It was fun. The manager, I don't think, really liked the way I pitched, Walt Alston, but I was there and he had to pitch me, and it's tough to pitch when the manager of your ball club says, "Well, they said he can pitch, but I don't think so. We'll see, though." When the manager says that about your starting pitcher, which was me, I'm going to go out there and bust my hump for him. I mean, I'll pitch, but the best thing for Tommy John that happened was my last year with the Dodgers. There was a guy named Lasorda. That came in. And was Tommy a good manager? Managing a game, he would give the hit and run and the bunt and all that. And he would let that go. But he made it so that you wanted to come to the ballpark every single day and play your butt off for him, because that's what he just had, that aura about him that wanted you to play and play hard and play harder, and all that. And that was Tommy. And I would have run through hell in a gasoline suit to play for Lasorda.
Wow. Yeah. So you really liked him. And
I loved it.
And yeah. So was he your favorite out of all the guys you played for?
There was a manager when I was with the White Sox that was very good that I liked. His name was Eddie Stanky.
Yeah.
And he came from the Leo DeRocher mold.
Right. Yeah.
And Eddie Stanky was a disciplinarian, and the guys on the ball club didn't like him that well. You know, I mean, he was tough.
Right.
He demanded. In fact, he taught me how to pitch better than any manager I ever had. And how he did it was this. I had a game against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, and this was, 66. And I came into the ballpark at Yankee Stadium early. I had pitched the night before, and so I came to the ballpark early to work out. And Eddie called me into his office, and he said, "Hey, come here. I want to talk to you." And I said, "Okay." Shut the door. Whoa. When the manager says shut the door, something's happening. So he pulled out the last night's pitching chart. You know, had all my pitches. He said, "Let's go over last night's game, okay?" I said, "Okay." "Okay, first hitter, what'd he do?" Grounded out to shortstop. "What was the count?" 2-2. "What pitches did you throw to get it to 2-2?" He made me go through the entire batting order of the guys I faced, what they did, what the count was, and what I threw to get to that count.
Wow.
And he said, "Okay, next time you pitch, we're going to do this again." I said, "Okay." And from that time on, I knew what I threw, what the count was, what the pitch was, or what the batter did. And I asked him, I said, "Why do you want me to do this?" He said, "How do you know what to throw a guy in the 8th inning of the game if you don't know what you threw him the first 7 innings?" And I looked at him, and that made sense. It made common sense. I said, "Okay." Right. And from that time on, until I quit in 1989, I could tell you what I did, when I did it, what the pitch was, what the count was, and that's what Eddie taught me.
Wow.
And I was the only pitcher that he did it to, because I really think Eddie liked me, and he liked my mental attitude and all that.
That is amazing, because he honed your craft. And that's, you know, hearing stuff about DeRocher too, he would pick up certain things on different players too. And I think everyone's different, right? And Eddie saw that in you and knew that, okay, this would help you because you can go that deep and you can remember what you're doing, and then that's just going to take you to another level. That's amazing.
Right. Yep.
Did you? So you were doing analytics before analytics, basically, with Eddie Stanky. So, but in your own way, not like they're doing it today, where it's just so much. It's crazy. But
That moment was brought to you by the Audio Suite, a sound recording, design, editorial, and mixing company for film, broadcast, advertising, music, podcasts, audiobooks, and multimedia industries. The Audio Suite provides high-quality services at cost-effective solutions to meet your post-production needs. Voiceover, narration, ADR, sound design, sound effects, editorial and sweetening, recording, mixing, mastering, audio restoration, and more. The Audio Suite will get you to the finish line on time and on budget. Steve Harrison, owner, designer, mixer, has decades of experience and has worked with various clients from HBO Films to Penguin Random House, to us, Santo Films. When we needed post-production mastering for our independent film Dead in 5 Heartbeats, the Audio Suite was our go-to place. Steve is knowledgeable, reliable, and always delivers the highest quality. Go to www.audiosuitestudios.com. We highly recommend.
Crackerjack.
Hello?
This call is being recorded.
Joe Amalfitano.
Yes.
This is Jeff Santo.
Yes, I can tell by the voice and also the number. How are you, Jeff?
Good, man. Reason I'm calling, Joe, I hope you have some time here. I have a crackerjack segment in my podcast that I get close family friends on to talk about the guests. Well, I'm calling you because my guest today, this week, is Tommy John. And I just talked to Tommy, and he told me that he roomed with you in Chicago.
Yes, we shared an apartment, right.
Wow. I've talked to Don Kessinger on the show, and everyone mentions you, Joe, all the time. You know, you've touched a lot of people out there in professional baseball. That is for sure. And I was talking to Tommy John, you know, about his career and also not getting into the Hall of Fame. And he told me, you know, when he was in Chicago, he roomed with you, which is amazing to me, a Cub and a Sox guy rooming together. How did that happen?
Well, we were, I was still playing, and that's where he was playing. But
right,
we hooked up. I was, well, anyway, our friendship. We hooked up, and it was a pretty good deal, Jeff, because we both shared an apartment. We split the nut, the expense. I didn't see him, and he didn't see me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because they were home and we were on the road. And we were home and he was on the road. And I can remember watching him pitch against Detroit. And he had a little incident there where one of their middle infielders, or McAuliffe or something.
Yeah, Dick McAuliffe.
There was and he ran, for some reason now I don't recall it right offhand, but Tommy damaged his shoulder in that thing. And I remember he calling me, and I went to the airport and picked him up because, he left Detroit and came back to Chicago, and I went and picked him up. I remember that anyway. And,
that was when he charged the mound, and Tommy tried to go down and kind of tackle him, and his knee hit him in the shoulder. Yeah.
That was it. You're right. That was it.
Wow.
So I know we did it for 1 year. It might have been the only year because when I became a coach, it was different, and he moved on too. You know, he went to the Dodgers or wherever he went. He went to the Dodgers. Yeah,
and then the Yankees. But I was just he also said because he roomed with you, he goes, I hung out with more Cub guys than I did White Sox guys.
Well, I guess Ernie Broglio and I. Teammates in the minor leagues, and then he got traded in a Lou Brock deal, and he moved in, and so he did. I guess he did, but I don't know. That's so far long ago.
Wow,
I don't remember all that stuff. But I do. We developed a good friendship, Tommy and I. I was actually in his wedding with Sally.
Wow.
And I remember driving down to, I think it was Indianapolis or Terre Haute or someplace on an off day. But no, a real good guy. I mean, and a hell of a pitcher.
Yeah.
Real good guy. Real good guy. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent guy. And, and just talks so highly about you as everyone does, Joey. And, why do you think he's not getting in the Hall of Fame? A lot like my dad had happened to him. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I don't follow that stuff that close, I really don't. I wasn't in I don't know. I never followed that close. Who went in, I paid attention to that as far as who to be in and who not to be in. And then the controversy with the steroids, who's supposed to go and who's not to go. And I never paid much attention to that.
Right.
I was fortunate.
But him as top pitcher during that time, wouldn't you say he was one of the top guys in that? He
was one. Oh, well, he was very effective for both the Dodgers and the Yankees. Yeah, oh yes, I remember. I think it was Bob Lemon took him out of a postseason game, and I could still see Tommy shaking his head on the dugout, and he never showed anything like that, but I could tell that he was not happy by being removed at that particular time. But no, he was a very good pitcher. He was a pitcher. He wasn't a thrower. He was a pitcher. Yeah.
He sure was,
where's he living?
He's living in Florida. Okay. Yeah,
Where
his wife Cheryl. No.
Cheryl.
I think right
right outside of Sarasota, I think. Longboat Key. He has a daughter down there too, I believe. And we were talking about the Hall because it's so hard. He didn't get in with the riders like my dad. Got overlooked there, and he's hoping next year. But it was just a great conversation about just him getting to the bigs at 20 like my dad did, and his same work ethic as all you guys had back then, where he just knew himself so well as a pitcher, and as a ball player, and talking about that, it was just great to hear. And I wanted to get your thoughts of you saw him and my dad, if all through the careers. Did you think they were Hall of Famers through the Writers Committee?
Well, I knew your dad was because I played over there with him, and then I got to coach. You didn't coach your dad. What the hell you knew what to do. But
right.
I saw your dad every day. I saw Billy Williams and Ferguson Jenkins and Ernie. All those guys are in the Hall. I don't know what took so long about your dad getting in there. Because that there I can relate to because I saw your dad play a lot of baseball. I saw Willie Mays play a lot of baseball, Cepeda, all those guys. I was teammates with all those guys.
Yeah.
And, they stood out. Tommy, did I never face Tommy? Because my playing days are over. But I watched him on TV, and then I saw him postseason play in his career after he left the White Sox, Yankees and L.A., something to remember, yeah. So,
right.
And he pitched on some championship teams.
Yeah, well, with the Dodgers, and, they never won, I don't think, during his time there. And just the fact of his surgery, the Tommy John surgery.
Yeah. Well, my goodness gracious. Yeah. Dr. Job, both of those guys. Well, he was the patient, Job was the surgeon. Today, the Tommy John surgery. He should get royalties off it. He should get royalties off of that every time you mention it.
How many careers he extended because he took that risk and was the first to go there and succeed with it. I mean, there's a lot that he brought to the game.
Jeff, would be an interesting thing if somebody would interview him and ask him what did his rehab, how long was it, and how intense was it? Because his career went a long time after that, and he was productive. Somebody had to sit down and write a story on him because they do these surgeries. Who does them, I do not know. But quite often, as the season goes by, each season, at least 3 of them, somebody breaks down and Tommy John. Yeah, Tommy John. Be interesting to somebody interview him, what he actually did physically to get himself into a winning pitcher again.
I actually did that.
Oh, you did? Good for you.
I just did that, man.
I would love to know what he said. Well, this is before the surgery, though.
Yeah, I did the pre. He talked about how he got it, and then what happened on the mound to him, and then getting the surgery and the rehab and everything. He went through the whole thing with me. It was amazing. So it's going to come on the next podcast. So I will send that to you, and you will hear it.
Please.
So
yeah, I'd like to. I did a podcast the other day for Jim Hill. Jim Hill, Channel 2 or Channel 5 out there in L.A.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, great. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what he did with it. It was kind of long. I know that. I don't know what the hell he did with it.
Now you got me calling you and putting you on another one. I'm sorry, Joey. I just had to call you.
No, problem.
I was talking to Tommy, and I said I got to get you on the phone. When did you go to L.A.? When did you go over to L.A.? What year was that?
1983.
Okay, yeah. So Tommy was with the Yankees then, or at least, he went through the L.A. and he talked about Lasorda like you did. He loved Lasorda. Said, it's too bad I wasn't around long because I would have done anything for that guy. Ran through a brick wall, anything. He really talked highly of Tommy. Like you did.
Tommy, he loved his players. He showed it too. He did. He loved his players, and he had their back. He did.
I have one last thing to talk to you about, and I was talking to Don Kessinger, and just to show, he told me that I said, Don, how did you get that ball in the hole and jump up. He said, I went out and worked on it with Joe Amalfitano.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
We were in Oakland, and Leo, we were all the way up there to play an exhibition game. And Leo said, I'm not going to play him today, so do what you want to do with him. Pre-game practice, the whole 45 minutes we hit. I don't know. He took batting practice, then he went in the field. The whole time he was in the field, I hit him balls, most of them all in the hole. And he was finishing the play, which I like to see. Sometimes I know when I was playing, the coach would hit us the ball, and we would toss it back to him, try to do it on one hop, because if you didn't get it back to him one hop, he wouldn't hit you anymore. At least that's the way it was when I first started playing. It really made me concentrate. But when I became a coach, and then I started to look at things, I said, you know what, that the guy's not finishing the play with that, because he doesn't throw it back to the hitter in the game. He has to throw it to a base. So I said, I think I'm going to incorporate that, and that's what I did. Yeah.
Wow. He said it was something else, because he goes, I didn't like the plant. We figured out I'd get it quicker there by jumping up, like because he had basketball skills too, and you perfected that with him, and that became a signature thing Don did.
Yeah, I can remember when he became the manager of the White Sox. He called me. Anyway, we had a nice conversation. He was a good guy, really a good guy.
Yeah,
nice player. Nice player.
Yeah. Oh, great player. So consistent, and so. But I wanted to call and say hello and talk to you a little bit about Tommy and rooming with him. That's so unique. You never see that again. Two guys from different teams rooming in a city, sharing a room.
I don't know what Tommy was making. I knew what I was making, but those days there, you're trying to, and you never signed a lease because you didn't know if you were going to be there the next day. I played, right. That's the era that I played in. But anyway, it was a lot of fun.
It's so much fun to hear all those stories, man. But you think about today, I mean, come on. You guys are renting a room because you have to.
What'd you say, man? What?
You're renting a room because you have to. You guys got to share the finance. You don't have the money to get your own place.
We had to cut the nut. And it was great because we're both we're both bachelors, and we're tidiest. We weren't. No, we picked up after ourselves and never left the place in a mess. We had a guy come home, and neither one of us were running around at night. Neither one of us had the same character.
That's perfect. And just to think too, you got the day games, he's got the night games. I mean, so
Yeah, very seldom. We're very seldom when we were ever in there together. But on occasion, but we were when he got hurt. When he got hurt.
Yeah. Great stories, Joey. Thank you for taking my call again, and great talking to you as always. All right, Joey.
God bless. Take care of yourself. Bye.
You too, man. All right. Thanks again, Joey.
Bye.
That's our show, folks. Thanks for listening, and make sure you listen to next week's episode. Tommy John and I talk about his surgery from the beginning all the way through rehab and how he came back from it. It's quite an episode and quite a conversation. Hey, and special thanks to our cool crackerjacks, Scott Nelson, Jim McCauley, Debbie Foley, Sherry Matarisi, Terry Rankin-Gurovitz, Terry O'Brien, Gary Tallman, and Anne-Marie Pascule.
This show is made possible because of all of them, by all of our subscribers, and to you for listening. If you want to support the show and be a cool crackerjack yourself, subscribe on our Patreon page by clicking the link below this episode or go to our website, www.peanutspopcornandcrackerjacks.com.
Remember to click the follow button, too, for next week's episode. It's a good one, like I said. And leave a review on Apple Podcast. We'd love that.
And don't hesitate to write, give us suggestions, or tell us how you're liking the show. Email jeff.ppcpodcast@gmail.com. Or leave a comment on Spotify.
My closing quote: a guy that throws what he intends to throw. That's the definition of a good pitcher. Sandy Koufax.
Toodaloo!
SantoFilms.com, the place to buy This Old Cub DVDs, posters, and This Old Cub t-shirts. Get yourself one now at SantoFilms.com.